I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:03 PM. This is the August 3rd, 2026 regular meeting of the Woodstock Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. We'll start with a roll call.
Marla Butts.
Grace Luddy.
Stuart Peasley.
Bill Rowinski. Kathy Barrick isn't here, and our alternate Mark Parker is not here. So now,
I
what's that?
spoke to Kathy a few minutes ago, and she was expecting to come in, so I don't know if she's having trouble
Okay.
getting in.
All right, well, we'll see how it goes. We have no alternates available to appoint. We'll move on to action of the minutes of the previous meeting of July 13th, 2026. Does anybody have questions or corrections?
Marla Butts speaking. I didn't see any changes that I would want.
Looks good to me, Stuart Peasley.
I didn't see anything correct either. So I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Come on, somebody else better than me.
I'll make a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes from July 13th as presented.
Second, Grace Luddy.
A motion by Stuart Peasley, seconded by Grace Luddy to approve the minutes as presented from July 13th, 2026. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Stuart, was that an aye?
Aye.
Okay, sorry. All right.
Sorry.
The motion passes. Moving on to
Bill.
what's that?
Hi,
Who's
Bill.
Okay.
Kathy Barrick.
Yeah, Kathy is joining us at 7:05 PM.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, we just started and we just approved the minutes from the last meeting. Okay. We're up to citizens' comments. This is a time for something brief. It's for anybody to make a comment brief in nature that is not related to anything that's currently on the agenda. Is there anybody who would like to speak at this point? Okay, not hearing anybody. Let's move on to pending applications. Application 06-26-01, 523 Route 169, map 5781, block 52, lot should be 9B. So that needs correction on the agenda. Town of Woodstock Palmer Arboretum Committee, work in wetlands to correct drainage. So, Mr. Swale, are you speaking tonight on that? Tom, I can't hear you.
Tom, we can't hear you. You don't appear to be muted. There's just no sound. Rick, you want to jump in?
Yes. So it's Rick Canavan, wetland soil scientist who was helping the Arboretum. I haven't talked to Tom since we met last, so I'm not going to be too much of a help. I'm not sure. I mean, I think when we last spoke, there was folks were going to take a walk. If we're waiting for, I'll let you run the meeting, but if folks have something to say about what you saw in the field, I could try to answer questions, but I don't know what
I'll note that we did not receive anything new to support the application. So I think it was really just an opportunity for commissioners to visit the site in the field.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so my understanding is that, we presented last month and we were waiting for some, review by the commissioners of the site. And we're just kind of waiting to see what you think about it. I mean, I think it was pretty, we talked about it a fair amount. What additional information would you need from us?
So Bill Verwinski, I was there this afternoon again looking at it, and the only comment I would make about your plan is to make sure these little check dams uh, don't go completely across, that there's a way for the water to get through. Um, some of this is actually smaller in person than it might appear on the screen. So what might look like a large boulder is probably not a very big rock. Uh, there is some erosion there now, some big dips for big drops from erosion. So hopefully this would stabilize the area. And I think you were going to put I think you would talked about putting um, some stone in the bed.
Correct.
Okay, some smaller stone in addition to the
Yeah,
large.
something very similar to what's already there.
Yeah. Well, some of it is sand at the moment, so
Correct. I mean, that's why we would add some additional to kind of hold the bed in place a little bit better.
yeah.
That's,
So
are
you
you,
don't
sorry.
you don't have a plan for the beech tree yet? For that coming down?
Well, we know it's coming down, and it's just a matter of getting someone to do it. And the plan would be to minimize the impact by, I mean, I wouldn't, depending on, the tree company that would do it. It's not the biggest tree in the world, and you know, we we could certainly talk to them about minimizing the impact by, um, I mean, if they can climb it, which I don't think would be out of the question. You could take it out limb by limb, and then it's. I mean, I'm not a tree expert as far as removing trees, but I don't think it's out of the question to be able to do it without a truck.
Well, typical from Bill Rowinski again, from my experience, some of the tree guys are trained not to climb dead trees. That's not totally dead, but there's a lot of dead stuff at the top. The other thing, getting equipment down there looks to be a big problem because of the width of your paths and a lot of overhanging branches that would either have to be worked or, moved around or might have to get cut off. There might be equipment, you could get what they call a spider lift, but you'd need a very significant height, and then you'd have to have up to like a 50-foot circle to be able to put the outriggers down to stabilize it. So I don't know that you even where it's kind of flat across the brook. I don't know if the soil is stable enough to be able to do that unless it was frozen. But I'm
Well,
thinking it might be a good idea to take that down before you do all the other stuff, because if someone's only going to drop it or they're going to be able to drop big pieces, then it might mess up a little bit of what you're doing in the brook.
I mean, I'm sure that's always a possibility. Yes.
Bill, I have some comments on it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I actually went down and walked the site on the 16th of July, and again on the 22nd of July. The second time I went with Tracy Caruso from the Wetlands Office. We were out, I was giving her some training on map reading. But what we didn't go here for the map reading, but I wanted to take a second look at it because when I was there on the 16th, there was water not coming out of the main spring, which is the one to the north, shown on this page, near the Stone Bridge, the northern Stone Bridge. It wasn't flowing out of the deep spring hole, but it was flowing out of the ground beneath the Stone Bridge. So there was a trickle coming out, heading down. Second, there was another trickle coming out of the southern Stone Bridge area, but it was farther downstream a little bit. The site had the appearance of already having been worked. So my question to Tom is, what work has the Arboretum Committee done already? Was this channel always in this unstable condition, or is this something that got developed after some earth moving work had occurred?
It's gotten, this is after some earthworking had been done. There was a significant amount of landscape fabric covering a bunch of area that needed to be removed, and we did some earthwork to make it more of a regular channel, because the rainwater coming out of the rain garden already had a channel down to that point, so we were just continuing the same channelization that's already been developed.
I did not see the discharge point for the rain garden. Where is it on this map that we're seeing?
It's the lower one. You said that there's the north and the south is referred to as the south discharge point.
Okay. All right. So because of the steepness of the grades as you head down towards the very long bridge walkway, I'm believing that if your intent is to have riffle pools, is that your intent, to try to create riffle pools where you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we haven't probably done as many of those check dams as might be required, because yes, the grade is steep. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So since the looked like the channel had been worked, it's now in an unstable state. So I'm thinking that you're going to probably have to armor a lot more than what you expected to. The last meeting we had, we asked what kind of machinery were you planning on using? That was listed in the minutes. And what was the amount of stones you were anticipating of importing? Did you get any better idea of what the equipment was you're going to use, and how much stone were you going to import?
Well, the amount of stone is, we can certainly, we haven't determined how much yet. We have, been told we have a supply of material that we can get, and we will base that, on how much labor we can muster to put it in. And, I think, like we had said, I think the majority of the I think we can probably do all the machinery work on just the bridge crossing that we're planning in. The rest of it should be able to be done with, smaller stones and, check dams of stone that's manageable by hand or a hand truck.
So are you getting this stone donated by somebody to you?
Yes, we are.
Do you have an idea of how much stone that is that you're getting donated? I'm just trying to figure out whether or not you've got enough to be able to do what you want to do.
No, we have not made that kind of estimate yet.
Okay. So I was wondering if you're thinking you've got, 10 cubic yards of stone or 2 cubic yards of stone, you know, how much stone, because it's going to make a difference as to where you place your check dams, because that's really what you're going to do to control the erosion.
Well, we started some of the, and they granted we did some check dams on the north and the south swales that before the pool,
Mm-hmm.
and those were just done with what was available there on site. That's not necessarily an indication of the extent of material that we would have. And I agree that the swale going from the pool down to the long bridge would need more check dams, and even though we didn't depict it that way, that yes, it has quite a steep grade, and it would be, I mean, I would have no problem with us proposing additional check dams along that path.
So we have the 2-foot LiDAR contours from the GIS, and in developing your check dams, in order to prevent erosion, basically you're going to want the toe of the check dam to be at the top of the next down check dam. So you'll have a riffle and a pool, a riffle and a pool. That will slow the flow down, but you need to be able to know what the slope is in order to know how far apart you can place those check dams and how high those check dams could be or should be.
Right.
That would reduce the amount of armoring that you would have to do on the side slopes if you don't have any check dams. And I don't necessarily think that the stones that you've got, the check dams that you've got up by the existing bridges, that won't be adequate as you're going.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah. So I think you need to get a better idea as to how many check dams you're going to have between the long boardwalk and the proposed bridge, because that's going to determine how much stone you're going to need. See, because if you've got a slope that's dropping, say 20 feet, and your check dams are 3 feet high, that means you could go up the slope. You know, can you see what I'm saying? Calculate how you go up. That's what we really need to see for that, so that you know how much stone you're going to need, and it definitely needs to be stabilized. Because work's already occurred and started on this, and there's an erosion problem already on the embankment, I think it's important before spring comes, when the flows get high, that you get something in place, particularly at the down near the boardwalk. But I'm not satisfied that you know how much stone you've got and whether you have enough to do what you need to do, and where you're going to place your check dams. I think you're still not quite there yet on the plan between the boardwalk and the proposed bridge. The upper area, I don't think, is going to erode very much. It's much flatter there than it is after you pass where your proposed bridge is going to be.
Can I interrupt? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any experience with a check dam or armoring. Can you explain what that is?
What a check dam is?
A check dam, or yeah.
Yeah. So in the erosion and sediment control guidelines, they do talk about having check dams. But they're usually talking about areas that have intermittent flows from storm events. So like a check dam could be designed with a 2 acre contributing drainage area, but that's not this kind of situation. This situation is flow is there almost all the time going by, but it's not necessarily a lot of flow, and it's not going to be reactive to storm events like a developed site would be. So the height and the size of the check dam is basically a pile of stones that goes across the channel, with the center being lower than the sides, because you don't want it washing around the ends because it'll wash it away. It's basically like a little spillway, and you have it thick enough so that debris can collect on the back side and allow the water to pool some during lower flows. But when it's high flows, it will remain stable and not wash out the ends. So the contributing drainage area to this is pretty small. It's just the hillside. And I'm going to guess maybe it's, I don't know, 10 acres, if that.
Much
But it's
less than that. And
you think it's less than that? And it's
Yeah.
mostly vegetated and it's treed. And so it's not like open land. So it's not, so when rains come, it's not going to be like a parking lot that drains off fast. And because
well,
the
we've never actually seen. I mean, I've been down after rains, and I've never seen a surge of any sort.
right, you basically your flow is from your discharge from your groundwater.
Yeah. So it's not like all of a sudden you're gonna in the springtime there's gonna be
Right.
a massive flow down this thing. It's
Right.
what you see is pretty much what you got.
Yeah. I think you need to, I don't feel comfortable until you guys come up with an idea as where you want it, your check dams, how high you want them to be, and do you have enough stone to do that? Because the most important ones are going to be the ones that are leaving your site, because right now that sediment's going into the neighboring property. And it's undeveloped land right now. And I think from there it heads through the golf course. And after that, it goes down towards Roseland Lake. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the drainage way heads that way.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah. And we're in August already. And the groundwater table will start rebounding in September, mid-September. I don't think I don't really have a problem with the concept that you want to do, but I don't think you have enough detail in there to be able to identify how much stone are you going to have enough stone to do what you really need to do in order to stabilize that channel that looks like it's been worked. And I'm talking about between the boardwalk to the east and the proposed the proposed new bridge in the center.
I mean, I don't know if it's entirely has to be check dams. I mean, but I think it certainly could be, unless you think I'm wrong, it could be just simply a continuous channel of decent sized stone that kind of slows it down entirely. I mean, it certainly wouldn't hurt to have a check dam every once in a while. I don't think we need a continuous, check dam level type situation.
Okay, then how are you going to stabilize the banks? What kind of vegetation are you going to use to stabilize the banks?
Yeah,
Well,
Marla, isn't that exactly the thing that you're putting in here to save the whole park, really? I mean, if you get washouts and all, you're just going to be going back and doing it again. I mean, if we can't do it right the first time.
Well, that's what we're planning on doing. We're going to be doing it right the first time. And
Do we have an engineer, Tom? Is there an engineer that's working on this?
no, we have an annual budget of $3,000.
Oh, okay.
There's
Perhaps,
no engineer.
perhaps maybe Rick Canavan can help the guys because he is a soil scientist and he's seen the site. He might know what the erosive capabilities of those soils are over time. I don't know what soil types they are. I don't know if he identified the soil types when he went out and took a look for wetlands delineations. Do you have any information on that, Rick?
I'm not like also as not an engineer, like I wouldn't know like what kind of armoring the banks would particularly need. I also saw it only after it was worked, like you described, so it was hard to know how much cutting was going on from the flow before the channel was widened. That I think that would kind of give you an idea of like, I mean, I'm just guessing, but I wouldn't think that it was, you know, further down heading toward Roseland. I mean, if you go, I'm not sure if this is in the same watershed, but I mean, there's like massive cuts in channels where, the bed's like
Dropping.
3-6 feet below surface, where this is not that. So I I would agree with Tom that like I wouldn't necessarily want to add so much stone that the toe of the check dam the subsequent check dam is not so high that it's at the toe, like not a full terracing.
Mhm.
because like you'd want to try to get plants growing between the rocks on the banks. In From what I saw out there, because it was disturbed, like it was a lot of jewel weed because that's coming in after the disturbance. But
Mhm.
there's skunk cabbage out there. I think if they're planting other, perennial herbaceous plants and shrubs along that channel, because like we described, it's not that flashy. I think, you know, that to me, that seems like that would still be the way to go versus over armoring. Then you're not going to get the plants in to hold the bank.
Yes.
Okay, so can we talk about the location of the check dams? Um, one, because it looked like it was pretty gravelly soils that were there. They didn't have a lot of fines in them. They didn't seem to.
Yeah,
Was
and
that your
they might have washed.
already, which meant
Yeah,
they would have washed onto the adjoining property. Um, I'm thinking that there should have been a check dam just before the boardwalk that's located, because that would be an area where sediment, if sediment is washed from the channel that's already been disturbed, it could be collected there to some extent. Now, there are sometimes check dams where they've taken hay bales. They use a hay bale core, and then they put the stone over the top of it to create basically a filtration for it. Um, so that anything that erodes from there to the west has the a potential ability of being caught there before it leaps off site, off the property. Have you ever seen anything like that when you've been working in the field? Check dams with a hay bale core?
you described earlier that like you want to make sure you get the sides. To me, part of the concern for that would be is if you clog a hay bale in the center of the channel with fines, then you start to push the flows around the outside of it, and if you were going to do that, you'd want to make sure that you had both the rock and the bales high up along the bank so it didn't overtop and cut the sides.
Yep.
Like
And
I
then
honestly haven't seen, I've definitely seen hay bale check dams frequently, but I haven't seen them combined much with
with
rock.
stone.
I mean, I guess like that's usually in my mind more like in front of rather than over the top of.
Yeah, the only time I've seen that is when they're in channels where they want to increase the filtration of the check dam, because most stone check dams don't have a lot of filtration capacity. And over time, the hay bales rot and the stone kind of slopes down. But by that time, when that happens, usually the contributing drainage area has been stabilized. So you don't have as much of a need to have that kind of filtration. Um,
Yeah, that seems reasonable. I guess you probably Tom could find a detail on this, but you just want to make sure that the way you build the hay bales out, that you get them high enough along the bank on either side so that you don't have it flood the central channel and just cut the sides.
I think the Connecticut Erosion Control Sediment and Erosion Control Manual used to be the 2002 Connecticut Guidelines for Soil Erosion Sediment Control. They've been revised to 2024. I believe there is an illustration in there. It's either in the stone check dams or it's in the hay bales. I think it's in the stone check dams section where it talks about putting a core of hay bales inside the stone check dam. And the stone goes beyond the hay bales. The stone goes up and over. So the hay bale is just basically in the center of the check dam, and the stone covers the hay bale and then goes up the sides a little bit so that you have a low spot, a spillway over the hay bale that's covered with stone and not over the edges. Because the velocities and the amounts of flow shouldn't be that great, even in a storm event. But it could pick up the sediment that's coming down until they get the channel stabilized with vegetation. And it could also potentially stop head cutting, which is what I've observed down on Roseland Park Road. There's a lot of head cutting down there. But that's a substantially larger watershed than this.
This is Grace. Letty, can you find out how much stone you have available if you did need more?
Um, yeah, well, we been told we have whatever we need. So
It's really less an issue of how much stone they have available and how much they will need.
Correct, but since their budget is so small and they may need more. I just wondered how much they had.
Grace, I believe that the stone that we are anticipating is going to be a donation and not a purchase.
All right, so
That'd be
somebody's
nice.
gonna pay for it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Well, I'm still looking up armoring. Is that another word for riprap?
yeah.
Okay.
And of course, what you use for riprap or that kind of armoring is based upon the velocities and the forces that you're expecting to have. There's low forces here, but it's constant. It's not like intermittent. So that's why check dams make sense, to be able to slow the flow down at occasion, allow for some settlement so that you don't get the bank erosion until the vegetation along the edges starts to grow.
Are we talking about any cut and fill operation here with this?
They've already done the cut. It looks like they've already widened the channel.
Okay. Yeah, I think what you're bringing up on the table makes sense, is to get a better understanding for the.
Okay.
Good for you, John. You did it pretty fast.
With apologies, we were Zoom bombed for a moment there. No business was transacted in at about 45 seconds or so.
Yeah.
We're back at 7:37.
So we were talking about cut and fill and what the appropriate slope percentage is. Do we know what that? I mean, if we've got a 2-foot interval on, we can do some calculations, or at least. I have not had time to go out, but I know it's fairly steep. So what are we talking, like a 25% slope?
I don't know. Hold on. Let's see what it says. Give me a second and I will see if I can pull up GIS and find out what do we have for a change in slope from the spring to the edge of the. Don't really need from the spring. We need it from where the proposed bridge is going to be.
That, I think, would just make it helpful for the amount of check. What do we call it? Check dams?
Stone check dams. Yeah.
Check dams.
Yeah. Okay. And let's go look for layers. State data. Contour map. Aerial photo. Okay. Where's the contours? Contour map. Well, my contour map's not showing up. Why is that? Come on.
Marvels of technology.
Marla, do you need me to?
Yeah, can you pull it up on the screen?
Yeah, give me a second. I'm still cleaning things up here.
The contours are grayed out. 2023 contour maps grayed out.
I would. Is it 2023? Like on the layers on the left?
Yeah, it's on layers. Yep. That's what I was looking for.
I was on that the other day. Same thing happened to me.
No.
I couldn't get the contours either, so it's not new. And Google Earth is going in the tank too.
I wonder if it has anything to do with the Zoom bombing.
Wait, are you on Google Earth or are you what are you
No.
on?
I'm on Towns GIS.
Okay, yeah, I have the contours. Hang on.
Do you?
Do you have a base map also? What's your base map?
23
Okay.
statewide aerials.
All
You
right.
can
Yeah.
see the bridge. You can see the
Okay, hang on.
the water flow for part of it. Okay.
All right.
So
We're
it
in
looks
here,
like
right?
a 20-foot, looks almost a 20-foot
I don't
change
know if I'm
in
in the right
elevation.
spot here.
See the bridge? It's up in your upper corner. Or not
Up over here, right here?
No, the other side.
Oh,
East,
okay.
east. Right near the yellow line of 500. See 500?
500. Yep.
500. Okay, go north. There's the Brockway.
Okay, right here.
Right?
Yep.
And now you see the channel underneath the walkway.
Right here.
You head east. Yep. And the spring is going to be right at the base where the slope gets extremely steep near elevation 520.
Up here.
520, probably more like 517, 518.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the area we're talking about is actually, okay, so that
Isn't it about 10 feet?
looked to be more closer to 15. Can you scroll back out a little bit?
Yeah.
All right.
And you want to measure distance here?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So that's 10 feet to 510. And then it goes to probably 515. So you've got maybe a 15-foot drop. Now, can you do a measure? Can you measure from the 515 down to 500?
Right around here?
A little farther to the north. You want to be a little farther north. See the green? That's probably where the
right here
was.
Yeah. All right. Hang on.
Yeah.
Right in here down to
A little farther north. A little farther north. Go up a little bit. Okay, now go all the way down to the bridge.
Hold on. I need to clear this.
Yeah, I know. I do not like this app. I like MapGeo better.
All right, hang on.
And you want to go to the 5, right where the yellow line is, where the bridge meets. Can you see?
So a little farther north. Tell me when to stop here, Marla. Right there?
Right there.
Okay.
Go there. All the way to the area where it looks like there's the bridge. There's a right to there. Okay.
All right. I have 98 feet.
Yep. 98 feet, 15-foot drop. Okay.
15%.
Yeah, 15, 16%.
So, does that answer your question, Stu?
Yeah, that's like a little bit less than, it's about I think about a 4 and 12 pitch on a roof.
Mm-hmm.
You can still walk on it, but it runs pretty good. It's not shallow. It's not a shallow pitch.
No.
To just let you know, as far as stabilization by vegetative means, we've gotten a seed mix, wetland seed mix from Ernst Seeds that we plan on purchasing for the purpose, of stabilizing this, following the use of the seed mix we have now, the annual rye.
Yeah, well, the annual rye would just be temporary anyways.
Well, that's why it's an annual rye, yeah.
Yep. But it gives you a more immediate stabilization of the side slopes that you don't have right now.
Correct.
And as you remove vegetation, those slopes become accessible to raindrop splash and wash from that area. But after you wash the fines out, then you'll have more of a gravelly embankment, as opposed to head cutting. So Rick, since you've worked with soils and stuff, 15% slope on a soil type like you saw when the channel was opened up, Do you see that as being very erosive to rainfall?
When and I talked to Tom about this, like getting cover, like you said, like whether it's that's recommending annual rye, like if you put down a mulch to try to keep the raindrop erosion, like bare soil is a problem there. Um, but given that we expect the flows to be lower volume, lower velocity, even though it's a steeper slope, I don't see this, continuing to cut if we can get the banks vegetated.
Yeah, so I think probably what I'm looking at, and this is just off the top of my head, is it looks like you would need probably 4 or 5 check dams, 4 that go across to help to prevent head cutting. Do you know what head cutting is, Tom?
Not exactly.
Okay. So when flows go over a channel and the downstream end is lower, obviously, than the upstream end, the soil starts to wash away from the lower end and it cuts back up the slope. That's called head cutting. So if you have
drop that moves up the slope.
Yeah, so what you do is you try to control and prevent the bottom from washing out in the channel. And that's what this check dam does.
Okay.
And so the check dam kind of holds the grade for the water that's flowing through. And that's why we're saying, the most important place would be by the bridge to start with.
Yeah.
The walkway.
So I mean that's easy. We can put in as many check dams. You want 4 or 5?
I think you're going to need 4 or 5.
Let's do it.
That seems like a reasonable number where in that case it's not going to be like top to bottom a full terrace, but you have
Right.
control like that.
And we'll certainly have stone in between that in the bottom of the channel to slow it as it after it goes over a check dam. There'll be stone there to stabilize the bottom and to slow the flow before it gets to the next check dam.
Yep.
So if you had 5 check dams, that would mean for every 3 foot of drop that you had in that channel, you'd have a check dam. You see what I'm saying? Because you got a 15-foot change in elevation, and then you could place them depending on how the channel looked. But I think that would work. And the check dams don't go to the top of the channel. They only go across the bottom and start to go up the sides.
Yeah.
It's
Which
just,
certainly that would be way too much. I mean,
right. But that's not shown on your application. So I don't
can
know.
we make it a condition of approval?
I don't know. How do other commission members feel? Do you want to take a chance and do it on a conditional? Because this application is this application for a use permitted as of right or non-regulated use, or is this a individual permit application?
No, it was an individual permit application.
Okay, that's good, because if it was a use permitted as a right or non-regulated use, we couldn't go back and revisit. It would be whatever it is. So,
Is there some urgency in terms of getting this done?
yeah, the channel's unstable now, and the water table's really low because it's the groundwater drops in the summertime, and it starts to rebound around mid-September. So if they're going to try to get some stabilization in that channel that's already been reworked, they need to do it before the groundwater really rebounds. And the highest is usually in April or May. But it continues to rise back up as you approach into winter. Groundwater tables are lowest usually in August and start to rebound in September and continue rebounding until spring. When you get spring thaw, when you get the snow melt, you get the ground thawing out. The the water table is usually at its highest then.
So how, if they got started now, and what would be the process for determining that more was needed in order to be a safe or proper installation?
Well, because it takes a while for vegetation to grow. I think the check dams, seeing how the check dams work to stop the head cutting, but and we don't have any details on the check dams, so how high they'll be or how far across the. We don't have a typical cross section of the channel, but I think that would be the approach that they would take in any
So,
case.
Why
don't?
One question I have on is the drawing. If I'm looking at the plan view of the swale improvement plan dated July 13th, it shows the whole area, deck, and the trail down to it, the bridge. Is that comprehensive enough for us to really? I get a little bit turned around because the north arrows are different, but I get that that drawing that I'm looking at.
You have to turn it on its side.
Yeah.
Make the north arrow work, right?
But the check dams seem to be delineated on the left side of that trail down to the deck. Or are those just steps?
Those are check dams, but I'm not talking about the check dams located there.
We're talking adding about some additional check dams from the bridge down to from the new bridge down to the old bridge.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clearing that up.
I don't think it should sit for a long period of time and not have some kind of work done. I'm just trying to think of how to get there from here, from a permit standpoint.
Yeah.
Really have to go right there. Short term, so need to have something. It seems like something should be done, at least this growing season.
Yes, I would agree.
So I guess it seems like the conditional approval is the way to go.
Yeah, because the seeding dates start in mid-August.
Yeah.
For so whatever the permanent vegetation is that they're going to want to be able to be getting that down between mid-August and the beginning of October. The last seeding dates are sometime in October, either October 1st or October 15th, depending on where you are in the state.
You have a little bit of leaf coverage potentially there, and then you're going to have leaf drop. So the sooner the seeding gets done, the better. So if someone would like to propose a motion on this, I would appreciate going somewhere.
Does anybody have any objection to doing a conditional approval? I guess that's the first question before I draft a motion. Try to draft something.
I don't think so. As long as there's a sense of common sense going forward.
Marla, what is the condition that you're thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that there will be a requirement to install 5 stone check dams between the eastern boardwalk bridge to the proposed bridge to be installed within 60 days of the issuance of the approval or of the permit, such that the check dams retard flow and hold the alignment of the channel from dropping, something like that. That's what I'm.
As defined by the stone check dam definition in the erosions and sediment control.
And as identified. Well, I don't know if they do it in live channels, but yeah, I think you can use the Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control for that. Is the contributing drainage area less than 2 acres, or is it greater than 2 acres? Do you know, Tom?
I can't say for sure. I think I mean, it doesn't go past the Route 169.
Right. Like
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't even think it goes.
seeing the old town hall and the parking lot there, it probably is like just above that if I'm just making a
I'm going to do a quick measurement. Let's see if I can. I'm going to do, you can measure an area, because if it is less than 2 acres, then the stone check dams in the ENS guidelines are appropriate, because those you can put in, the design for that is for up to 2 acres of contributing drainage area. So let me just see if I can.
Marla,
Yeah.
so are we certain that 5 is enough, or do we need to build in additional if necessary?
Well, if we come back, the part of the condition could be that if it's determined that the channel is not maintaining stability, that remedial work may be required.
Okay.
We could condition it that way. Okay, I want to measure an area. And that area also picks up the rain garden.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like it's just about 3 acres, give or take. So that would probably work for the guidelines.
Have you included any of the adjacent properties? Because I don't.
Yeah, I included the part of the lot to the north, only part of it, because the way the slope lanes, it's not taking up the whole lot. And
Plus, you've got a stone wall that defines the property. That I don't know if you're getting anything crossing over that wall.
where's that wall?
It divides the two properties
To the north?
to the north.
Okay. Then it would be less than 2 acres if that stone wall acts as an obstruction to surface flow, which it probably does, because most stone walls do. And there's no concentrated flow anyways, so. Okay, so that probably would work.
But I think we definitely should clarify that we're not working with all the information that we're making a decision on.
Mm-hmm.
So that, you know, if there are issues later on that will have to be addressed. We're trying to accommodate the expediency of the situation for the sake of getting this done for the season. But in terms of us making a proper decision, we need more information. But since it's seemingly amenable to the owner of the property, that they can accommodate and revise as needed going forward, then I'm willing to go ahead with it.
Okay, let me write this out so I can figure out. You can continue to talk while I write this out.
I'm trying to look up.
So there's really no other good option, Stu?
No, I don't see.
No,
I don't see so.
Yeah, there's one place of erosion there that's like a 1-foot drop that I saw this afternoon. So it is happening. So in the interest of stabilizing the site at this point, it'd be good to do something.
And that's been our plan all along, to do something. So this is right up the alley of what our plans are. I mean, it may not have been depicted exactly the way it's being suggested, but we've certainly done some check dams, some menial ones up towards the top, and we will do more robust ones to the bottom. Additionally, the ones to the top will be enhanced.
And we're also working with the soil. The type of soil is not highly erodible. Is that true?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you've seen, it's washed. There's some coarser material.
Okay, that's good to know. So that helps us grant a conditional approval.
Well, it was a lot, Bill Rowinski, it was a lot drier after the last meeting because I went there the next day and from the groundwater from the spring side was flowing anyways already. So it should be a wet enough environment for things to take, new seeding and new plants to take fairly well.
And the application is in the name of the commission? Who's the name on the applicant? Who's the applicant?
Just bringing up the application now. Palmer Arboretum Committee.
Okay, here's see if you think you want anything unchanged on this possible motion. I'll speak it first, and then if you want me to make changes, let me know. Okay, so I'm going to suggest that we approve it in light of the existing unstable conditions, that it's approved. Such approval is conditioned that 5 stone check dams will be installed within 60 days from the date of the approval, to be located between the between the easternmost bridge upslope to the proposed bridge, and that if the agency determines that such stabilization is inadequate, the Palmer Arboretum Committee shall take such actions as directed by the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency to stabilize the channel. How does that sound?
Sounds reasonable.
Bill Rowinski, I might add that, did you say anything about seeding? And that wetland plant soil mix seeding will happen also?
Whether it's wetland soil seeding, plant seeding, or annual rye, it doesn't matter as long as the slope is stabilized, because they can go back and reseed at a later time. So if you want me to include and seeding, let's see, within 60 days from the date of the approval. Okay.
Would there be any time frame? This is
60
Grace Betty, where we would be checking on the whether the whole situation is holding the way
After
it
60
should?
days? If we look after 60 days and it's not stable, if it looks like it's not stable enough, then we'll go back and try to give instruction on what we think is needed to stabilize it. If this were coming as an enforcement action, we might do that anyways. This is not an enforcement action at this time because they came in willingly without being cited for anything. So I think what we would have to do, so if it's issued now, which is the beginning of August, so we'd be looking at September, October, the beginning of October, we'd be looking at it again and see what it looks like. And that's pretty much the end of the seeding dates is October, the beginning of October. So then if there was something else we needed to have done, like installing mulch, if the vegetation's not good enough, I mean, wood chips I don't like using wood chips in a situation like this because the wood chips will float and go downstream and potentially cause a problem. But there could be other things that they could do, like this farmer could have some really crummy hay that he doesn't want, and they can put some down if it's eroding from the slopes. If it's eroding from the channel, then they'll have to make modifications to the check dams. But since it's a town entity too, okay. Is that all, Bill? Is it
Yes.
in the seating? Okay.
Yes.
And
I mean, I'd like to see a little bit of perennial rye or something more there than annual rye, but as long as it's seeded and temporarily stabilized, at least.
There'll be
Okay.
grasses in the wetland seed mix. So, we prefer to stick with the annual rye and then have the grasses and sedges that are in the wetland mix be the preferred.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
mind-
it's a double-edged sword. It could stabilize it with the perennial rye, but it might prevent the other stuff from taking too.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you use the annual rye and then you do the wetland seeding in the spring at the right time, you can also possibly do it that way. You just want to get some cover and some roots holding the soil in place.
Yeah, and a lot of times the annual rye is helpful to give cover to the wetland seed mix and help it stay in place.
Yeah, and I would recommend seeding before the winter because some of those native seeds need the winter before they'll germinate.
Oh, okay. Frost crack seeding, not frost crack seeding, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. They need to be exposed to freezing conditions.
Yeah, so like I would seed it all at once and then you get the quick cover from the annual and then you get the native perennials coming after in the spring.
Okay. 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 So I'll move to hold on a second. I can get my here it is. I move to approve application 06-2601 523 Route 169, map 5781, block 52, lot 10B by the town of,
It's 9B.
9B, excuse me, 9B, map lot 9B, excuse me, by the town of Woodstock Palmer Arboretum Committee be approved in light of the existing unstable conditions, that such approval is conditioned that seeding for the disturbed soil stabilization and 5 stone check dams will be installed within 60 days from the date of approval. Such stone check dams to be located between the easternmost bridge to an area upslope to the proposed bridge, and that if the agency, the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency, determines such stabilization is inadequate, the Palmer Arboretum Committee shall take such actions as are directed by the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency to stabilize the channel and contributing slopes.
I'll second the motion.
Here we have a motion by Mara, by Peter Lee. Wording will be derived The recording, Dan, are you okay with what you have there for the wording?
I'll be referencing the recording for to get the complete language of that.
Okay, but you're fine with that then?
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Any abstain? Okay, the motion passes. Well, thank you, Tom and Rick, for all your work and this deliberation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Okay, new applications. Moving on to application 05-20-10EX. 9 Bassett Hill Road, map 5781, block 50, lot 21B, Josh Pratt extension of wetlands permit for clean out of pond.
Now, hi, Josh. Sorry if I could just jump in for a second, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
And I mean, so this is just an extension. We had some discussion at the last meeting and subsequent to that about the changes to state law regarding wetlands extensions. And I just wanted to have a quick discussion before we proceed to get the commission's input on whether an extension is actually needed. So I'm going to share the Connecticut general statutes. Can you, I don't know, I'll zoom in on this, but can you see my screen, section 22A-42A?
Yep.
Okay. So, and I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. So 22A, 41 and 42 A. This is part of the Wetlands Commission statute. So starting in here, this is a series of provisions regarding length of permit. So any permit issued under this section for the development of property does not take effect until approval has been granted, valid until, a subchapter expires, or 10 years, whichever is earlier. So initial for development of property is 10 years. However, any permit issued for which activity for an approval is not required is valid for not less than 2 years, nor not more than 5. And then that could be extended, but it's for an approval not required. But if you scroll down, and this is a little bit newer. And then is notwithstanding the provisions of subsection 2 of subsection D, which is what we just read, any permit issued under this section on or after July 1st, 2011, but prior to June 10th, 2021, and this permit was from the year 2020, so it's in that section, that did not expire prior to March 10th, 2020, which is again this permit, shall expire not less than 14 years after the date of such approval, which then could be extended for another 5 years, so not less than 19 years. So there's a couple of subcategories here. And I think it's possible that Mr. Pratt, having gotten his permit for the development of the property, the work on the pond or the drainage area, was a permit for development of property between 2011 and 2021, which hasn't expired, might be valid for 14 years, which is to say he does not need an extension today.
That's correct. That would
this was, and because the approval, and this is what I wanted to confirm with the commission, with the agency, is that the approval was not essentially as of right permit not required, approval not required, correct? Because then that would be a 5-year. But if I'm reading this correctly, and I'd like to crowdsource this, I don't think I'm sure everyone's very curious about how Mr. Pratt is doing. I don't know that he necessarily needs an extension from the agency at this point.
Okay, so if we go through it, this permit was issued when exactly?
In 22, and I'm going to go back.
No, don't go back. Stay on the language. It was
it was in
2020,
2020. I
correct?
believe, yes.
So it was issued
November,
after July.
October, November.
Okay. Okay, but it was in 2020. So
Correct.
it was issued after July 1, but it was prior to June 2021. And of course, it didn't expire prior to 2020 because it wasn't in place. So shall expire not less than 14 years after the date of such approval. So it's a 14-year permit. That's what that says. That's what I read.
That's how I read it as well. I just wanted to verify that you did not interpret that what was issued at the time as essentially a permit not required approval.
Correct. This was a permit that was issued.
It was regulated activity, in other words.
Yeah, it was a regulated activity. So this would qualify for 14 years. Now the only question that we have is what is occurring now? Is that what was authorized?
So that's something that we can discuss. I've seen no indication that it is beyond other than it is just more. And Josh, you may want to jump into the discussion on this.
Yeah, so the original permit was to clean out the pond. Unfortunately, I don't think any of us knew exactly what was under the water until I actually drained it down. We did a pretty substantial job in 2020 for the rear section. I did not, other than cleaning out the silt pond that was there, and I patched the dam that was there, I didn't really touch that because I assumed it was going to be all right. And I attached some pictures and videos that you can see that it definitely breached soon after. The front section was never cleaned. The guy that I had hired to do it, he had a few days left and he was very nervous. We actually had some people driving directly onto the property to take pictures, and he didn't want to be associated with that. So that kind of stopped.
Josh, I'm gonna share my screen and show a list of the photos and exhibits. If you want to call something up, I'm going to ask you if you can see this list. I'm going to ask you to call up the picture that you might want to show.
Just for example, because there's a lot of people that wonder. They believe the pond is being bigger than it used to be. If you pull up the first one, the original pond, this is a picture from 1992, thereabouts. It could be 93 or so. But you can see towards the tail end of all the silt that had washed in over the years from the swamp above. The silt pond never worked. So that the tail end really went very far back to the north. So that's all cleaned out now. But you can see that the size of that. Where are we?
So they're all numbered. If you want to go through, I could go through.
So
the Phragmites main pond.
The Phragmites in the main pond was stuff that we wanted to clean out. So this is, you can see there's a lot of cattail typha in there. There's a little bit of Phragmites in the front. What got me reaching out to John was during the last big windstorm, I had about 6 spruce trees on the other side of the pond that fell. And I needed to get to those, get some machines over there and take them down. And that really got me seeing how bad the front pond was when we lowered it down. Let's see. I wish I could help you, John, here because I lost all my photos. But
right at the beginning, it use it as a slideshow.
Yeah,
if first one, you can just click the right arrow.
There's also you have a wetlands pond pictures Word document, and that has all of the pictures, and they're that would probably be the easiest one to look at because.
Yeah, I added more to that, but yes, that is true.
It's at the bottom of the list.
The wetlands
docs. Yep.
Okay.
Call that up. And he's got a lot of photos in there, all identifying what it is.
All right. Are you guys seeing the Word document?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So here we go.
Yeah. So the top right Phragmites, that's the rear pond area, and there's some down trees that you can see towards the back. The failed silt pond, this is not the one that I did in 2020. This is just a an idea of when we first cleaned it out. You can see oh, that's because those labels are reversed. So the failed silt pond you can see is the old silt pond clean out. You can see that it's just got full of stuff. The dam breached. I wasn't sure how many rocks were under the ground. So anytime I put any sort of barrier behind, it just eroded around. As you know, water always finds a way. Um, so it kept coming around. And you can see this silt pond breach here. This is after we dug this in 2020. I'm not sure if any of this silt has to do with the brand new house that was put up off of Old Hall Road, because that runs kind of right through the swamp area. But either way, an excessive amount. You can see the extent of the silt overflow. That's a cat excavator in the mud of the pond, and you can see also the lowering of the middle pond. That was all in there even after we dug. So the main culprit of this debacle we've been having is a poor or non-existent silt pond. So I made sure the first and foremost was to make a silt pond that abutted the swamp area large enough and deep enough to be able to handle the volume of silt that may be pushed in during the rainstorms. It doesn't really flow in day to day. It's more when we get heavy rains, just like we just had now, that really starts to tumble that silt in over the years. And I took that whole stone dam out and I made a clay packed. It's probably 20 feet at the base and about 9 feet wide at the top. And that was packed every 4 inches with a 14,000 pound track loader. And just run over and over and over and over again. So that way there's no water scooting around those large boulders that were once submerged in the ground.
I have a couple questions for you, Josh.
Yeah.
You're referring to the silt pond. That's the pond on top.
Yes, correct. The pond that kind of abuts the swamp. So the goal of the silt pond would be as that gets full, maybe I'm hoping, fingers crossed, maybe 3 years or so, I would be able to get down there, remove any water there, and remove the silt from that. This should stop the silt from running into the main ponds. So
Is
it's
Question.
there
like a clean out system.
any calculation done on the impoundment of that? What kind of I mean, the water flow, how much water is involved, the size of the overflow pipe?
So the overflow pipe that runs into the main pond it's a 12-inch diameter. So I can't remember the gallons per minute, but it definitely, even with these heavy rainstorms you just had, it does not flow over that at all. Before we were using like 8-inch pipes. I couldn't tell you the flow exactly that comes out of that swamp during the rain, but I know it trickles when it's not raining. I mean, I could do out some. You're looking at maybe there's a picture somewhere that shows the water. I think it was above. John, if you scroll up again a little bit, scroll back up. There's water right here, rain flow from. So that was after one of the heavy rain flows or rainstorms that we just had, and you can see the water's barely taking up that entire pipe.
Question, Josh. Do you have any
Yeah, go ahead.
of armoring the dike that has the blue plastic pipe in it?
Yes, so I do plan on stone facing those. I have some nice flat stone that's being donated by a good friend that's right up near Bungie, and
The
pretty
reason
much unlimited.
Reason
But
why I'm asking is because with no hydraulics for the size of the watershed, we don't know what the capacity of that pipe is. And I'm assuming you're going to keep that blue pipe there.
Yeah, that's the overflow pipe.
Yeah. When you overflow, I mean, do you have?
No, I mean, sorry, I have that pipe that comes in, so that's not an overflow. But I also have an overflow pipe in the middle causeway section. I'm just gonna see if I can pull up really quick the gallon per minute flow. gallon per minute flow of 12 inch. I know, so I did the calculation out before. One 12-inch pipe has a larger flow than two 8-inch pipes. And
That's
again,
correct.
before we had the one 8-inch pipe that flowed out of the main pond.
Yep.
It is 12 inch, sorry. 12. I know it's a lot.
So let me ask you, looking at your original approval, which had the silt pond, and then there was a stone dike, and then there was looks like a silt pond, and then there's like some kind of bridge or walkway that goes to the main pond.
Yeah.
So what's different from that you want to do now?
So the only thing is, like, I had made those peninsulas on there, in hopes to put the main part of putting a bridge was so that I could get machinery over there
Yep.
and, make it my life easier mowing. And after sitting on this for 5 years or so, looking at the amount of material as far as either be pressure treated lumber or iron, and to make a bridgeway that's going to not fail over the years was just not very a good idea. I don't know how to say that.
Okay, so
So
you're
that,
eliminating that bridge in that middle way.
yeah, and doing the causeway that you kind of see on the what is
On-
option B here.
Yep.
Because that just makes it's natural. You have the hydrostatic pressure on either side, so it's not really, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see it going anywhere. And it just makes it a lot easier to maintain. I don't have to worry about bringing in pressure treated wood,
Right.
creating forms. Again, I'd have to probably do iron if I was going to get machine overs. Uh, it was a pretty idea. It wasn't a feasible one, I guess.
So what we're seeing on Exhibit D, which shows it says dig entire pond. That was one of the options you had,
Yeah.
to 8 to 10 feet. Is that what you want to do now?
I just want to clean the pond, and I just want to keep that causeway.
You're
So
going
we
to keep
just,
the causeway. Okay.
yeah, keep the causeway and just clean out. So again,
Instead of having the twin pipes, you're going to have a single pipe.
yes,
That
correct.
instead of being 8-inch twin pipes, you'll have one 12-inch pipe.
So I also I have a 12-inch, that's where I use the word overflow. I have a 12-inch pipe on the top, but right under the top, and you can see on one of the pictures, I have a vertical discharge pipe that acts like a skimmer system.
Okay.
And
Yep.
so
Yep.
under normal circumstances, that 8-inch pipe will be able to take care of anything. If
Okay.
it ever overflows, it would be able to run through the 12-inch without affecting any.
So because your permit is still valid, if you're going to make a change from the original drawing, you just need to submit a sketch saying you want to modify the permit for that. I would suggest that you take a look at Payne Road. The town built a stormwater management basin. It has a forebay to collect heavy sediments coming off of Payne Road. And then it's actually got an internal stone dike. And then it also has a pipe that leaves from the stormwater management basin, and it has an emergency spillway that's a rock lined overflow in case the pipe is not big enough. If you take a look at that, you'll get an idea as to how.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I had a emergency that I put in spillway before. I mean, I think we all remember the really bad rainstorms over in the past couple of years, and this pond was actually one of the only ones that didn't cause an issue because it overflowed past that 8-inch pipe and it went through I did like a 4-inch deep spillway. So that way it wouldn't affect me as if I mowed, wouldn't break my neck, but it would just give the water a nice diversion to where it should be going. John, is there any way that you could bring up under all the files, I have one video that you guys I want to show you.
Yeah, hang on.
A lot of people have been talking about, what I'm doing with all the animals, but I've been hand picking all the animals out of here, the snapping turtles and everything. But that turtle mission one, it's just going to give you guys an idea of what was on the bottom of the pond.
All right. So it is.
It's a video, and it's going to be
26.
I don't know why these are all out.
Turtle mission.
Yeah. So this will give you an idea of what was on the bottom of the pond and why I wanted to get it cleaned.
All right. Can you guys see the video?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
This is me walking with a snapping turtle.
Oh, good.
So that is why I wanted to clean the pond out. Because
Well,
the whole entire thing is full.
Yeah, so the snapping turtle probably likes to bury itself in the mud for winter when it hibernate. Well, they don't really hibernate, but yeah. So there may be one area that you want to leave a little bit of mud just so that you have some variation in the habitat, so that you have the ability to sustain those creatures that need that kind of condition.
I moved a bunch of painted turtles. I moved the snapper. I cleaned her off, put her on the other side. There's lots and lots of crayfish, and even some with more like a bluer tint to them. There's golden shiners in there, and about halfway, the southern section of that pond is all like blue clay. So there's lots of milky quartz and quartz bottom, and then the front half is more like a gravel base.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you guys know what's.
Are you going to have any shallow areas for
Yes.
potential?
Yep. So I have shallow areas, and I guess there's some other pictures in there. So I built ridge lines in the back part that we had dug. I have about a 5.5 foot ridges, and I went and I lined those with rock, like lots of boulders. I made caves. I made all different terrains, and then I also built out like fingers and like peninsulas within, so there's varying depths in there, because I know one of the worst things that we could do is just have a nice flat bottom pond that you used to see like in the books. So that way we can get varying temperature and varying like thermal dynamics in there, so that way we can have some warmer species. I'd like to get trout back in there. Pretty much want to bring it back to what it was originally when my grandfather dug that. I believe it was 1968 or 67. Waylon Nelson Sheldon was the one who dug that.
So I'm looking at your Word document where you have your pictures all in the end. And if we look down to, let's see, what page number is that? Oh God, I can't tell. It's the one that says slow removal. So John, I think it'll be.
Yep, I see it. Hang on.
You see it? Slow removal.
Yep.
In the slow removal picture, it looks like there's two pipes in there. It looks like you've got the 12-inch on top, and you've got underneath.
So that bottom pipe is connected to that top, the vertical discharge pipe.
Okay.
And that is just about 6 inches higher than the discharge pipe of the main pond. I put those in there so that way, if I ever have any weed control issues or anything like that, I could actually lower this pond down to not to the bottom, but I could drop it about 5 feet to be able to freeze off the edges.
And that's in the sediment pond, right?
That is through the main pond into the second pond.
Yep.
Not in the sediment pond.
Okay.
The sediment pond I just have, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't want any of that stuff to flow out from the bottom. If by any chance something happened to that pipe, it would just go right into it.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's just connecting the two main bodies of water. That would be cleaned out, and that would, they're just there kind of a in case I need type deal.
So I would suggest that you just submit to the agency all the revisions that you just talked about. I mean, as far as the changing off from the pipe sizes and stuff, and just ask for a modification of the permit. That's not a real problem. There's no fee.
You can also see, Marla, here the start of the front deep pool. You can see some of those fingers that I was putting in. and varying the depths. Um,
Yep.
just to give you an idea that I'm not just looking for a pond that looks nice. I'm looking for a sustaining ecosystem that
Mhm.
I can enjoy, people
Mhm.
can enjoy looking at, but also all the animals that live there can enjoy.
Yep.
Bill Rubinski, a couple questions or comments. It is that some of my concern was that that causeway might be essentially serving as a dam with
Mhm.
two different levels.
Mhm.
Right now, it's like a cofferdam right now, yes, because we
Yeah,
have yeah, it had to be sectioned so that way you could work out one section and then move
yeah.
everything else. But once the water's brought up to its main level, there'll be equal pressure on either side.
Well, pretty close. I don't know if the
Yes,
levels
yeah.
will be exactly the same. The only other comment about it is the slope along that causeway and along, I think it's the east or south side where the spruces are, that's pretty steep. So
Yeah, we
you've
have to
already
go
got
cuff
some,
those.
yeah, there's already erosion, significant erosion on the house. So,
So for in-water slopes, the maximum slope is 3-1.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
you
we
want,
were going to go back through, like those were cut intentionally, like right out because we had to go through around the edges
yeah,
and dig all the root systems out of the Phragmite. So
yeah.
we didn't taper anything down. We just dropped the blade and cut straight down. Um,
and so you'll want to reform those to
yep.
max slope of 3-1 or shallower, either way, if you're trying to create an edge effect. Um, yeah, but 3-1 is the maximum underwater. Otherwise, in ice action and stuff, you'll find you'll have an ice edge. It'll be like drop off.
Okay. Yeah, I also don't want any undermining to happen, so I need to
Yeah.
pack those edges.
Bunch of rivulets down the causeway there. So, and that's pretty steep on the 171 side. So, um, but I don't know if you're going to plan on packing that with stone also, or
Yeah, so I'm definitely so that the anything that's above the water for sure, I'm going to be doing well, I'm hoping to get it done as soon as I can, but we're going to do a nice stack stone face to anything
okay,
above the water. And then we'll be dropping more stone below, but that's not going to be stack stone.
okay,
I want to almost look like wow, I'm sorry, I can't speak right now. A nice stone wall
yeah,
across.
yeah.
More like a revetment.
Yeah.
Josh, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, Probably you didn't do any calculations on the fill removal or what we call overburden. Are you running into excessive amounts of overburden? And if so, what do you think you would best be doing with them?
So I do have just about 200 yards of product that needs to go. So that upper bank, it looks really tall from the road, but if you average it out, it's probably about 50 by 20, maybe 6 feet total. So I
All
think
right.
it puts us around like 222 yards or so. And that's being removed by a local guy. Actually, John G is going to be taking that out. I believe it's Putnam is the location. He gave me the actual address.
I'm
But
sorry
yes,
that
that needs to go. And then there's other stuff that I need to use to feather along the backside so I can seed. Um, it actually seems to be pretty good soil once it's all mixed up.
I'm. It's just it's too bad that you got so much visibility because I'm sure you have a lot of critiques going.
There's
But
it's not as bad as the first time. I think the first time people thought that I was really trying to ruin it. And then after I was doing some work around. We had some construction going on down the road. There was lines of cars, and I got so many like, "It looks beautiful. You did a great job." There's still, I'm sure, some people that are concerned. I just
sure.
hope the majority know that I'm trying to do the right thing, even if it looks like it's a disaster at times. Um, Last thing I want is a yeah, a poor looking property. And you're right, it is too bad because we do have a lot of people that again, especially in the start, that we're literally driving onto the property, taking pictures and bringing them to the town hall. It got to be, but
Have you paid a fee for this application, the one that we have listed on our,
No.
there's, good, because it doesn't require a fee for a permit modification.
Right. That's, yeah, I didn't.
But you still should submit a drawing showing the
Okay.
changes from what you approved to what you're doing now, the changes in the pipe sizes and that kind of thing.
okay, will do.
And I don't see a problem with the commit. I don't see a problem. I would not have a problem with approving that modification as you've explained it.
Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Josh, there was me there at 4:30 this afternoon, if you saw me.
What's
I
that?
was-
Sorry.
I was there this afternoon at 4:30, if you saw
Oh,
me.
we saw someone on the camera, and I was like, I don't know who's there.
I was just stopping by. I was looking at a couple other sites and I figured I'd stop by and look.
Yeah.
Okay, so no action is needed on this agenda item, Mr. Chair.
No, he should submit a request for a modification when he gets a drawing showing what it is he wants, what he ultimately is going to keep in place.
Okay, I can make that up very soon. With the request, is that an email request or is there a form that I have
Oh,
to
there's
fill
a
out?
form for that. It's online. You find it's permit modification form.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
You just submit the drawing with it, explain, what the change is, and you have to provide the permit number and when it was approved. We already know it's got a 14-year life.
Okay.
So,
All right, sounds good. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh, can I just ask a real quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
maybe silly question?
No, go ahead.
There's talk out in the community that you're digging this hole because there are springs underneath and you want the springs to fill up the pond.
Oh yes, so there are videos. In the back side of the pond, I uncovered about 20 springs.
Wow.
On the front side, there's probably I'd say there's 12 to 15. So there's actually a good amount of water that's flowing out of there.
Wow.
There's a video that will show you the water coming directly out of the ground. I attached that in those files. Yeah, it's all spring fed. So the water that I'm trying to divert from stuff coming in is really water that comes from too much rain. But
Yeah, surface water.
yeah, there's lots of springs in that pond. And
Wow.
before they were literally choked out with all that mud and everything else that was on top.
so that's why you want to have trout, because if you didn't have those springs, you wouldn't have cool.
Correct.
Well,
I'd have a bunch of catfish. That's about it.
Thank you, Josh.
No, you're welcome.
Okay, moving on now to the second new application, request for determination of as of right, non-regulated use, 305 Crystal Pond Road, map 6385, block 39, lot 13, town of Woodstock, Bungay Fire Brigade, stabilization of boat launch area.
So, Mr. Chair, as of this afternoon, Chandler Paquette sent me an email saying he wished to withdraw the application. They received an offer from another property owner with property on Crystal Pond. So this was motivated by the tragic drowning that occurred in Crystal Pond last month. And the Bungay Fire Brigade realized that they did not have a good rapid access point to the pond. And the existing, and I'll just share my screen quickly. The existing launch area is not particularly stable, and it's basically dirt. Let me.
Yeah, there's a drop there too.
Right, and so they had the thought of adding some stone and gravel here just to make it a more stable place to put into the water. And I guess there's been some consternation amongst the Crystal Pond Management Committee, Crystal Pond Park Committee, but simultaneously the town received an offer from a private property owner to use his property as a launch site for emergency purposes. And I believe the town and Bungay Fire Brigade is going to explore that, and a new application will be pending to establish that launch area. I bring this up, we don't need to belabor the fact, but my question for you as an agency was basically, adding some stone and material, not doing any excavation, not doing any work in the water itself, but essentially depositing and, more or less compacting some stone or gravel in here to stabilize the boat launch bank area. Would that be considered by the agency essentially an approval not required, non-regulated activity, or would that be regulated?
I'm just going to comment first on this and say that you have one red oak there on the left of that picture, and just to the left out of there, you have another red oak about the same size, and they have roots crossing this whole pathway here. And so in order for those trees to survive, you would probably have to be minimally covering them, covering over the roots. If it's covered with stone, it just might grind up the roots if there's going to be vehicles going over them. So that would be the concern. The other concern I would have, just looking at the water, is I don't know how stable. The water might be kind of soft. I'd have to get in there to see. So it might take a lot of fill to actually get a decent enough ramp that you can actually work with.
Is this a ramp for emergency vehicles?
Yeah, it would be for an emergency boat. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
emergency boat.
Yeah.
So they would back a trailer into that?
Yeah.
Yeah, presumably.
There's also a very large pine tree up, maybe 20 feet behind this also that could be potentially affected by travel over the roots.
Yeah.
And
again, I just want to make clear, this is not an application.
Yes.
And I just wanted to see what the broad determination would be of this agency of that type of activity.
It's subject to regulation because it's in the upland review area and it's a placement of material.
The placement of material. Okay.
Yeah. So it still should come before the commission. I would suggest that it could come as a non-regulated use, or I don't think it would be a use permitted as of right, because I don't think there's any qualifier in there that would fit. I mean, if it was a dry hydrant, kind of thing, that would be different because that's in there for fire purposes. If they needed to get a fire truck up to be able to suck up water, but then that's a whole different issue altogether.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't see how they could do it without filling in water. They could fill it in low water. But,
right. So that may lead them into in water activity. So okay.
Yeah.
Regarding there are some options that allow for a geomatrix. They're like concrete waffles. Have you ever seen a waffle potato chips? They're kind of like that, looking like that, but they're square, and they're placed in the ground. They probably go down about 4 inches. Now, depending on where the roots of the trees are, Bill, just for your thoughts, there's a root to shoot ratio. So if you had to cut off some roots that go to the tree, you have to do a similar amount of cutting of the crown in order to make the ratio the same. So that takes a little bit of thought instead of just saying you're going to dump some material. But so this geo grid that I've seen, that they're like concrete waffles. They have some down at the YMCA along the roadside where you can pull up.
Yeah.
Grass grows up through it, and it looks, but it's very sturdy. You can drive on it, and the soil doesn't come up, but you can get grass growing on it and stuff.
You're saying the YMCA in Woodstock, or
Putnam.
Yeah. Oh, in Putnam. Okay.
Down in Putnam. They got a stormwater management basins there too. It's interesting features.
So this location at Crystal Pine, is that the same as Nahako?
Yes.
That's the Hako doesn't exist anymore.
So relative to this, that's right next to that causeway. And those square logs have been installed already by
Oh,
Jen,
Elizabeth
forget her
Murphy.
name. Yeah, and so there's terrace there, and I think there's some plantings there. She might want to cover up or extend one of them, but for right now, that's all in there and is a sign that they're trying to propagate plants.
Mhm.
The bridge is questionable, but
Hmm.
that's their problem.
Okay, so we will expect a revised application for the full application from the property owner and the town when they get a plan together for a alternative emergency launch site.
Yeah.
Okay, and that concludes that agenda item, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, but I did speak with a young man who was there launching his kayak this afternoon, and I knew that there might be other options. So I'm glad that they're looking at a different option that's already there.
Mhm.
Administrative business, agent report.
Okay, agent report has been posted. Again, dealing with several of these applications, a lot of conversation with Mr. Pratt as we talked with him. He is, I think, the applicant I've dealt with in the last year plus that is most on top of what he's doing and why. He's a wealth of information about what he's doing there. Obviously, working with the Palmer Arboretum folks. Did a couple of complaint follow-ups or concern follow-ups. One was 1336 Route 169, which is just north of the Morris Lewis property that we talked about last month. I met with him last Thursday afternoon. He had basically been doing tree and brush clearing, sort of essentially preparing additional, open yard for himself. It did not appear to be, any work in a wetland. We looked at the old subdivision maps for the creation of his property, and there were no delineated wetlands at that time. He does have a drainage ditch going across the property from up the opposite side, the east side of Route 169. Again, it was not delineated at the time of his subdivision approval as a wetland. Again, it is a drainage area. It does not appear to be a wetland, but I did ask him to add some silt fence to his cleared area until everything is stabilized. And he's also going to be sending me pictures of some of the before and after vegetative clearing, just to follow up on that. So that conversation is ongoing. I did follow up on some concerns that Marla expressed following a site visit to the Morris Lewis project just south of there on Route 169, based on her site visit 2 weeks ago. I did a site visit of that the same afternoon, last Thursday. In regards to, and the concerns were largely regarding the kind of maintenance of the silt fence area, protecting the wetlands, and was in touch with Morris Lewis today. He is going to have his crews sort of reestablish and spot check the silt fence to make sure that is in place and functional as it should be. So that I'm following up on that as well.
John, there was an additional concern I had about the driveway construction, because when I was taking Tracy out to teach her about map reading, and I thought that would be a good one because there was a cut and fill for the driveway. But when I got out there, all I found was a rock fill for the driveway. There was no cut, and it actually teed onto the old driveway. So it's not what's shown on the plan that we got from the Archer. The layout is not the same. Although the cross culvert was in and it looked like it was fine, it was sized correctly. The wetlands flags that I did find, that I was showing her where they were, it was interesting. None of them were numbered, and I was surprised at that because Joe Thoreau normally numbers his flags, and none of them were numbered. So I couldn't tell really where all of the flags should have been, because I couldn't tell from the drawing. There were some very minor intrusions. When I say minor, we're talking like, inches into what I thought was some of the wetlands. But I was more concerned about the driveway and emergency vehicles accessing it. And I didn't know if there was any zoning requirements for because it's not built according to what the drawing was that we approved. And that was kind of
Yeah,
what
I looked at that and looked at the approved plan, the revised driveway location. I actually didn't find it that terribly different. It's a little bit more of a right angle than was originally approved. The way that it looks is they basically chose to keep a tree rather than sort of soften the curve a little bit.
yeah.
And it is still basically ultimately a 90-degree curve with a slighter, harsher turn. There is also a pull-off area if there needs to be a multi-point turn happening. I didn't see anything, in short, actionable about that.
Okay, so this isn't required by zoning to have certain angles for driveways, because I was thinking fire trucks. Fire truck had to get down there. I don't think they could have made that tight corner.
Yeah, there is not a regulatory hook to hang my hat on that one.
Okay.
So I didn't, as I said, I didn't mention it in my report because there's nothing wetlands actionable about it.
Yeah, the work is in the upland review area, but it doesn't really affect the wetlands.
Right.
It's going to affect the driveway, but
so he is going to, from the strictly wetlands perspective, is going to make sure that the silt fence is re-established in place.
Okay.
So there's your report, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Thank you. Financial report. We're the start of a new year.
Not a new year. Not much happening yet.
There's two things that happened already. One is from Stonebridge Press from the latest legal notice. That was 75 something. Just had it right here. I guess I misplaced that in one of my piles. Okay, here it is. 7350 for the latest legal notice. That was billed on July 31st. And
when was it published? Because I'd like to look at that up.
7/17, I believe, is the date on that.
7/17.
For
Okay.
July 13 decisions. Oh, 7/24 is the wait a minute. No, okay, 7/24 is the day it was published.
Okay. Because when I was in Thompson, I actually found ways to shorten up the legal notices, but still keep them legal.
Yeah.
So I'll take a look at that 7/24 and see if there's any way we can make it a little shorter. I don't know if there's a possibility.
And the other one I want to bring up is that John was having trouble contacting the property owner at 1336.
Right.
Yeah. So we did call in judicial marshals to get a response for them, and that the bill for that was $96.03.
So that was after the failure of regular mail and certified mail.
Yep.
Do we get an affidavit from the sheriff?
We did.
Okay.
The marshal.
Marshal, I mean, yeah.
So I told Diane to put that in the contractual services portion of the budget. So I don't know if anybody disagrees with that.
Nope.
I'd rather keep money open for the notices and use more parts of the budget. So that's how that went. So that's all I have to say about financials. So we have a meeting coming up that is scheduled for August 26th at 6 p.m., I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have the primary for that is good to do go over the draft forms and frequently asked questions. So Marla, you wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, when Tracy and I went out into the field, we got talking about, procedures and policies. And one of the things that I suggested was that maybe there should be like a protocol book, something that gives guidance on various topics about office operations that everybody can come to an agreement on, like naming conventions for files and storage of files. I actually had a protocol book in Thompson that had various sections in it. so that when I left, somebody could have the ability to know what the procedures are, so there wouldn't be any questions. And I would think it might be useful for us to talk about that as to whether or not there should be some kind of protocol set in place so there's no confusion. It makes it a little easier when you're saying, okay, is this an actual permit, or is it a modification? Is it an extension? Is it a transfer? You know, all those procedures, or what goes into a legal notice, that kind of thing, so that if either John's not there or Tracy's not there, the next person that comes aboard will have something to be able to work off of, instead of starting from scratch. And we have a logbook that's been handled since the beginning of the program. That's a paper copy. But then I think when Dan was there, he started an electronic copy, which John has continued to use. And we had both in Thompson. So there were protocols as to how to deal with that, so you don't end up with disconnects between the two. And why do you have two? And if you're not going to have two, how are you going to handle it? So you don't have a problem with numbering. And you also have sufficient information to be able to research stuff in the future if you need to look back. The electronic version, it was nice, but those are kinds of things I think we should probably talk about, and decide whether or not we should be looking at something. I'd be willing to provide a draft outline of, sections in such a protocol book to talk about, to see whether or not it's worthwhile to do.
Do we need to borrow theirs in order to
I-
do that?
I already got it from the wetlands agent
Okay.
over there. And some of the stuff doesn't apply here. Like Bill, you had a question about, reimbursements, that kind of thing, like what forms are used and that kind of thing. Well, that's the kind of thing they put in the book. And what's the travel reimbursement stuff, so that you have a place to look at a glance. So I could give an outline to John as to what sections could be in something like that. And that could be distributed. We could talk about that as to whether or not you want to go in that route or not.
I'm happy to receive. I'm happy to receive any information or examples you've got, and then we can share that with the HR people at Town Hall.
Yeah.
Well, so far, how the files are organized, as I know that when we lost all the records that Ashley Stevens disposed of, she got a records disposal authorization, and she did not notify us, nor did Jay Swan, and they ended up destroying files that were valid. As you saw tonight, we had a permit that was worth 14 years. We had a number of permits that Ashley Stevens threw out that we don't have any records of anymore. Those are the kinds of things that might be in a protocol book about maintenance of records and what actions you take, that kind of thing. And I don't know that HR is keeping protocols like that. Maybe you can find out if they have protocols for staff. But it sounds like they might not.
Right. Then I think that might be completely appropriate. But I think when it comes to internal office record keeping and things like that, we shouldn't necessarily be directed directly from commissioners. We should go through the HR process.
I'm not directing it. I'm just making suggestions and seeing whether or not that is
when you're saying, let's see if something we want to do.
Right.
I'm just cautious about the we in this discussion.
Well, until I get pushback from HR, yeah, I think I would like to pursue something like that. They want to push back. By the way, when I was in town hall today, Crystal Adams' desk was clear. Is she still there?
Crystal Adams has moved over to the recreation department.
Because she was the HR person, wasn't she?
She is still, but she has moved over to be the full-time HR Parks and Rec director.
Okay, all right.
So in the working out of this, from my discussions with Grace, she's a professional on developing these things. So I'd advise her to be brought into when it comes to the actual details of how we want to say things and how we might want to organize things. Just that she's got a lot of experience in that.
Excellent. Welcome, Grace, for another job.
I had a nice talk with Marla on the George Washington Bridge a couple weeks ago about job descriptions.
So
Yeah, I'm happy
7
to know
hours?
something, you know.
But
7
my
hours
stu-
on the GW? No, that's shorter than that, I
so
hope.
so for my kind of style of management, I tend to would rather exploit people's talents and abilities rather than dictate things or try to run things all by myself. So let's use the talents that we have as much as we can. All right. Do you have anything about Butts Road Bridge update, John?
I do not. Other than we replaced some wetlands delineation there in regards to the relocation of a utility pole. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Bill, where in town hall were we going to meet on the
It'll
August?
probably be meeting room A in the lower level.
Okay.
But I haven't done an agenda on it yet.
You should reserve the room.
I don't believe I did. But I checked that it was available. I didn't reserve it. But yeah, I will do so.
Okay. Is there any other business at this moment that anybody would like to bring? Okay, at this point, if we have any citizens who would like to comment, now is the time that you could bring something up that was not in the meeting, but I don't believe we have any citizens to comment at this point.
I think
So I guess-
all our citizens left.
And some of them were glad when they left.
Yeah.
All right, so then somebody else want to say something?
No, just an apologies for the Zoom bombing. As those guys were coming in, I would sort of had my alerts flashing and was trying to get myself ready to pause the recording and get them all ejected, but I apologize for the disruption.
What's that all about? I've never seen anything more disgusting in my life. What the heck's that?
It's just I had thought that went out of style about 5 years ago, but when we were first on Zoom for COVID, that was all the rage, but it's still around, I guess.
What are they, just college kids?
Yeah, how did they do that? How did they get into a?
Well,
these were private.
these are public meetings, and so you click the link to join the meeting. And there's no way of initially telling if it's a member of the public that wants to join and listen. And these are open meetings. It's like anyone can walk into a commission meeting if you're in person. If they're disruptive, then we eject them, and it's a little bit easier to eject them virtually than it is into an actual an actual physical meeting. But we just had to that's the downside of the open meeting process. Is you have to be ready.
Can't you trace their IP address?
So I mean, each when I eject, there's an option to, do you wish to report this to Zoom? And I reported all those user logins, and so we'll see.
Yeah, I thought it was a little odd that I didn't recognize any of the names. It seemed like
I didn't. Yeah, when there's multiple of them all coming in about the same time, you kind of say, okay. There's not a public hearing, so there's not an application to speak out on. They were just here to disrupt. So it wasn't that long, fortunately.
That was bizarre.
It was.
Well, thank you, John, for taking care of business.
Yep.
Does anybody have any other further questions, comments?
Yeah, I have one question. Is that going to show up on our Zoom recording?
There will be. I hit pause on the recording, so there shouldn't be much. But the initial 2-3 seconds might be.
Okay.
Oh, God.
I learn something new every day on this agency.
Whether you want to or not. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn right now at 9:08.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Kathy Barrett to adjourn, second by Grace Letty. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the meeting is done. Thank you very much, everyone.